It's 39 days to the presidential and parliamentary elections. Good afternoon and welcome to Election Brief with me, MFA Akosia Adeti. We're live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, all social media handles, and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol Platinum Energy, Energizing Dreams, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental, Wellness and Beauty, Chopbox Technologies, a convenience service, and Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging the gap for positive youth development. Well, on to the sad news coming in today. The death of the presidential candidate of the Ghana Freedom Party, Madam Akua Donkor, who sadly passed away at the age of 72. The farmer turned politician took Ghanaian political scene by storm with her jovial commentary and witty takes. Akua Ashanti of our political desk takes a look back at some of the memorable moments of her life.
Madam Akua Donkor lived the greater part of her 72 years outside of the public limelight until she emerged around 2012 during the election, seeking to become president when she founded the Ghana Freedom Party. In 2012, she did not end up on the presidential ballot after she was disqualified by the Electoral Commission. But Madam Akua Donkor didn't give up. She joined hands with PPP's Papa Kwesi Ndom in a short-lived alliance. In 2016, she was back to her dream of becoming president and was disqualified again. She did not lose her sense of humor, even in such trying times for her political dreams. But in 2020, Akua Donkor made it for the first time on the presidential ballot paper.
The sixth first candidate to present nomination forms to the commission was Madam Akua Donkor, and the candidate has therefore been adjudged responsive to the nomination requirements. She has therefore been cleared to contest the 2020 presidential election.
In 2024 also, she made it on the ballot paper and until her death was busy campaigning to be president. In the last IPAC meeting she attended, she threatened to sue former President John Dramani Mahama. When Akua Donkor was interviewed by Hits FM, she made headlines when she attempted to recite the national pledge.
Through the blood of our palace, I don't know what of Ghana, so help me God.
In one of her most viral videos, Akua Donkor jokingly takes on a woman who passes in front of her while she is being interviewed by journalists. As Akua Donkor journeys back to a crater, a lot of you will remember her for a lot of things, but she does not want you to forget this.
Ghana pet and Oba at the party. Uber who say be a president here. No, I'm a Quenum near to Abamano. And the Ghana pet and Oba at the party. And the Micran of a ha. I brought for the cranky of Mabaso. Now, what is letting me actually Robert said, yeah, my idea. See, I try Baba and have a back track with us. My children, what the Aqua to Ghana have one to this one. Over Quas Abafa. If you say much sham Robert in me, I'm a chill woman. enti nyame na achi wo mo enti nyankopɔ besi fam ya chia wo besi ni nyina ma o ma Ghana ya so ye.
Madam Akua Donkor brought fun to Ghana's usually heated politics. I will continue to keep many smiling, even in death. Akua Asante for Joy News.
She definitely brought some fun. But let's go to her family home in Edratia in the Ashanti region, where my colleague Ohemin Teria has been pitching camp.
2024 will go down in history as one of the darkest days in the family's history, because they least expected the news of her demise being announced to the family. So behind me are relatives and family members of the late Madam Akua Donkor who have gathered here a while ago. Residents of Edratia had been trooped in to commiserate with their family and also to sympathize with them. I have been speaking to the family head of the Diana family, Openi Nanaya Opoku, who tells me they least expected to hear news of Madam Akua Donkor's death, because they were told of the fact that she has been rushed to the hospital, and within a couple of minutes, news of her death was announced to them. So let me speak to the Abusia Penny of the Diana family here at Edratia. Nana memo akwaba adeba Joy News TV. So mami misa se sekra na mote ya mami Akua Donkor ne yade no yare da ho net say.
Oh madaruma ya antene yade so yare da ho. Ani ya antene yade se ya gene kura akoto baabi. Yeti ya na no be na dwunundu. Yeti ya ne se ni wu. Ani yeti ye. Ndi yeti ya no so no. Me de na ani metibu anye ntina menyindi nti mane kanyina me de na metu o man gu se o muntwa akiri na me de ente service e ma me no ye ente ne yade ente ne hwe oba akura be 3 weeks mu ani nti ente ne yade ente ne hwe ti ahomachi no mo sa freye se na de ka no nyini ada nti afia kire de o mo kan na se isu nyina ayede e wa akiri na ma mgidiye me gidiye so na se me nko aso ntimi ntana so se me frɛ busuan ne nyina busuan so bi wo baby ya mo mo nyina amane ebushani nyina afi no mba maako ye ni kakra ye wa ha no ye twa ahia na se ma me kwala nkono de ni wuo na ekte ye no no kure se wawu
nti wo ka se na wonyi ni ade nti na wonyi ni
se ma ntene ya de nti na menyiri eni se wuo no no kure no.
So this is Adriana Abusia Penny Nanaya Opoku. He tells me when news of the death of Madam Akua Donkor was announced to him yesterday, he didn't believe it. So he thought it was one of the rumors until the call came again this morning to announce the death of Madam Akua Donkor. He's been living in a state of disbelief because, according to him, he didn't hear Madam Akua Donkor's admission at the hospital. So for him to be told all of a sudden of her death is something that made him disbelieve news of Madam Akua Donkor. Mami Misa Abusuapani say one day ne yade e bere twa to oba ha no kan se be se na otwe miensani e na oba ha be ye de ankasa
oba ha no oba de na ne politics sem na ode ba so ode be chi abusua oba campaign Emma Kuri ene abusua no na dawloma de ode ba ha eno no
nti bia die pa na se mudi ho ya obi a mo ya oba kun a ye mo ya pa na se mo ahwere se mantimi anya mampani amfiri mo busua mu ana
no na ya no se ye ntimi anya wadi akira bre bebribe a ye ntimi anya mampanyine no amfiri abusua mu a ya ahwere ya japade ya eno no.
Okay, so
Akua Asante of our legal affairs desk is still here with me. Now, Akua Donkor was on the ballot paper, and I really want to understand what her death would mean to the candidature of the party.
Well, so there are constitutional issues that will come up, and we understand the Electoral Commission is going to do some work on this. But this is what we know so far about Madam Akua Donkor, who really did take Ghana's political space by storm. She has had no formal education up until her death, and she was a farmer, and a politician by profession. Prior to being thrown into the limelight, the political sport, she was a farmer. And like you heard in the report, she filed to contest the presidency for the first time in 2012. She was disqualified. Again in 2016, she did try to be back on the ballot paper. She was disqualified again in 2016. But in 2020, she made it. She qualified to contest the presidency in 2020 and came 5th out of the 12 candidates that contested that election. She was 5th. She got a little over 5,004 votes, and she did pretty well for her. And for this particular election, she is number 3 on the ballot paper. And she was just cruising, campaigning, going into this election, doing all that she could to galvanize a lot of votes as she sold her message as to whether or not the party was going to win or not. So she is number 3 on the ballot paper. But this is the sticking point. This is what the Constitution says. And this is what some persons have said. Very soon, there might be some key issues that the Electoral Commission would have to deal with. Article 54 of the 1992 Constitution says, where at the close of nominations, but before the election, one of the candidates dies, a further period of 10 days shall be allowed for nominations, and where the death occurs at any time within 25 days before the election in that constituency or unit shall be postponed for 21 days. What this ordinarily means, if you read this Constitution and you don't put any rival meaning on it, it means that the Electoral Commission would have to open the nomination period again for 10 days because the constitutional imperative there is a shall. And that expectation is that the Electoral Commission will comply. There are 2 schools of thought. There are those who say that when the Electoral Commission reopens the nomination for 10 days, it needs to allow only GFP, that is Madam Akua Donkor's party, to decide whether or not they are going to file and have a new presidential candidate. If they decide they are not going to do any of that and they will pull out, that would mean the entire balloting would have to be rejigged and reshaped. And it would mean every person above number 3 will drop 1 point below. It will ultimately mean that the NDC, for instance, which has spent a considerable amount to market their 8 on the ballot paper, will drop to number 7. These are all issues. And the Electoral Commission, the information we are getting is that they are going to wait until the family and the party officially inform the Electoral Commission that Madam Akua Donkor has passed on, which means she is unable to contest for president and continue to be number 3 on the ballot. Mind you, the Electoral Commission has already printed and distributed notices of poll, and they are just in the process of also printing the ballot papers for the December 7 election. These are all issues that persons have asked MFR, and whether or not the Electoral Commission is going to do an entirely new balloting, or the party is going to demand that, are they going to insist that the Electoral Commission just kicks her out or keeps her on the ballot so that the election will happen, is something that we'll be looking forward to getting.
Very well said, Kweku. Now, what does this also mean to parties like the NDC, I mean, which has also marketed the number 8, as you've already heard from my colleague here, Kweku. Let's talk to Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer, and he's the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the National Democratic Congress, and he's joining us via Zoom. Dr. Rashid, good afternoon. What does this mean for the NDC?
Well, let me say good afternoon to you, MFI, and your cherished viewers. As a political party, let me first of all express my condolences to the bereaved family. I mean, I share their grief, but as a party, it doesn't mean anything to us because the law is very clear. I'm sure readers should avert their minds to the enabling CI regulation 17(1)-4. You see, when you are quoting the Constitution is properly interpreted by CIs, a constitutional instrument. That is the driving force of the Constitution. And so when you look at the regulation, and I read Regulation 17, that is Regulation 17(1)-4, especially the fourth aspect, for want of time. I would have read all the 1 to 4, but I'll take you on 4. Regulation 17(4), where a new candidate is nominated by a political party, the commission shall adjourn elections in the constituency. See how the framers of the CI said that in the constituency of the deceased candidate for a period of 21 days from the date of the nomination of the new candidate. So here is referring to parliamentary elections. The regulation here is referring to parliamentary candidates,
yes.
not presidential.
Yes.
In fact, the CI didn't envisage presidential death. So when you look at Regulation 17, we talk of death of a candidate. When you read the 1 up to 4, it's rather referring to a candidate in a constituency.
Okay.
Not a presidential candidate.
I mean, this
and
is
so
why...
in a situation like that, when a presidential candidate dies, the CI, there's a lacuna in the CI, is very silent. And you know, the CI emanated from the mother law, which is a PNDC law 284. And PNDC law 284 is referring to parliamentary candidacy. And then PNDC law 285 is referring to presidential candidacy. So about the death of a candidate is explicitly explained in PNDC law 284 and not 285. It's very silent. 285 is very silent, is very quiet about the death of a candidate. And so anytime we have this issue, the CI is in handy to explain it. And clearly you could see that 17.4 is very clear that it's referring to a candidate in a constituency, not a presidential candidate. And so the number, the ballot papers have been printed, and nothing can be done about it. What will happen is that the Electoral Commission will go ahead, and on the election day, I'm pretty sure they will instruct their presiding officers and their assistants to get a ball pen and cancel Akua Donkor pictures on it. Otherwise, anybody who thumbprints on her ballot or her picture or her portion on the ballot paper, such a thumbprint will be considered as a rejected ballot. That is the rule. I mean, we apply this severally.
Okay.
This is not the first time we've come across such things. So it has nothing to do with our position on the ballot paper. Nothing will change on it. The rule is very clear, and the law is very clear about that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rashid Tanko. Now, moving on, the NDC's presidential candidate, John Mahama, has posed 5 questions saying the NPP presidential candidate, Dr. Mahama Dubaumia, must answer them, just as he once demanded answers to 170 statements and claims from the then Vice President, Kwesi Amissah-Arthur. Speaking during his tour of the northern region, he said the NPP flag bearer has shifted focus from his economic lectures to pursuing digitalization initiatives. Now, this shift, according to him, indicates a neglect of pressing economic issues that need addressing. Maxwell Agbagba has a wrap of the day 1 of John Mahama's northern regional tour.
On the first day of his tour of the northern region, the NDC presidential candidate visited the Saboba, Tatale and Zabzugu constituencies. Earlier, he visited the Chereponi constituency in the northeast region. In the Saboba constituency, John Mahama urged factions in the Boko conflict to embrace peace. He warned there are hidden forces escalating the conflict.
Unfortunately, any time the peace of Ghana will be disturbed, it is the MPP government that is in power. Recently, I've been hearing some things happening in Boko that appear to be threatening to disturb the peace there. I just appeal to the people of Boko area and all those who are stakeholders in what is happening there to exercise patience, exercise restraint.
The man you can trust to do this job.
He posed 5 questions. He says the NPP presidential candidate, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, must answer, just as he demanded answers to some 170 statements and claims from his Vice President, Kwesi Amissah-Arthur, some years ago.
And the same person is running away from economy. He used to give lectures every month about how to run an economy, how to fix the economy. He posed 170 questions to my Vice President, Amissah-Arthur. He should go and answer the 170 questions himself. Indeed, he shouldn't answer 170 questions. He should answer only 3 questions. 3. Why is the exchange rate 17 cedis to the dollar? Question 1. Exam, he should come and write. Ezu, why has Ghana's debt risen from 120 billion to 767 billion in 8 years? Question 2, he should come and answer. Question 3, Why is inflation where it is? Why did it rise to 54% under your administration for 8 years? And then let me add 2 more. Question 4. Why did you borrow 42 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana? From the economy to digitalization. He used to do big about economy. Today he can't mention economy. It's not in his vocabulary. Anytime he opens his mouth, digitalization. Come and talk about the economy. That's question 5. 5 questions. Tell him. You should come and answer them. Ezu. And then all he asks is, I want a debate. I want a debate.
Well, now, is campaigning with guns becoming the norm in our country? What does the law say, and what are the implications for peaceful elections? With just 39 days to go, we'll explore the legalities and the potential impact shortly. But first, really, we'll go to Mr. Peter Tobu, who is more of a retired police officer. Now, I'm going to be speaking to you as a security expert more than a politician. Tell me your initial reaction.
Thank you very much, Amifa. Good afternoon to our cherished viewers and listeners. Why do people like guns? There are 3 key reasons why people are falling in love with guns. 1, the fear of other people. If you are afraid that one human being who you think is so rational can pull a gun and rob you or shoot you to death, you are likely to look for a gun to protect yourself. The second point is that people like guns these days because guns teach us responsibility. When you have a gun, it teaches you that you hold in your hand life and death. You can actually kill somebody and you can even kill yourself. The third point why people like guns is the fact that guns bring some kind of equity in power. There is some balance in power. That even if you are a slave and you have a gun, you are as important and powerful as your master. If you are a very poor person and you have a gun, you are as important and powerful as the person who is even paying you. So guns create some level of balance. But why are we actually moving away from guns from 1992? And all of a sudden, people are beginning to fall in love with guns. If we love the guns, we were being ruled by the gun before 1992. In 1992, we went on the constitutional direction. And we are saying that let the state be powerful enough to protect all of us. But you know what? When the state demonstrates lack of capacity to protect the people are likely to take steps ahead to provide themselves with personal security. Elections are things that come and go, but impunity persists when the people in power are not bold enough to say, let spade be spade, let the enforcement work. Let me give you 2 examples. Honorable Howard Nkunsun fired a gun in Kaswa. Follow the case and you see what happened. It was never even investigated. Honorable Nakoyo had a gun, a licensed gun. Look at what happened to her. So it tells you the state itself must be up and doing to be very fair to its citizenry. And everybody will respect the law. In 2020 elections, people were shot and killed in Tesman-Sab. Have you ever heard that anybody has ever been arrested? The recent Mamobi incident is a clear example of promotion of impunity by the state. A magistrate sat and remanded somebody into police custody. And while the magistrate was still sitting, order from above came. And she had to change her instructions. It's so embarrassing. But that is where we are today. So guns in elections are not good enough for our democracy. But if we don't understand the difference between politicization of the security services and the politics of security, we will be getting it very wrong. The politics of security is very different from politicization of security services. And the line must be clearly drawn that let's do politics and so that the politics promote our country. But let's not politicize our security services, very particularly partisan politics. It's very dirty.
Apart from politicizing this situation, what immediate strategies should be deployed to curb such incidents?
What we should do immediately is to ensure that the laws will work. Enforcement should be at its peak. You see, what the police are supposed to do, there are enough laws, relevant laws available from the Arms and Ammunition Act of 1962 to what is present in Act 2960, the Criminal Offences Act. If the police are up and doing whatever it is, if you go to the court, there shouldn't be any power from above that comes to say what the policeman has done, taking a day or 2 or a week or a month to gather intelligence and effect an arrest. and all of a sudden somebody sits at the stroke of a pen or probably just a phone call, and the policeman feels so disappointed that I've not slept for over 1 week because I want to serve my nation. I want to ensure that bad characters are kept behind bars. And all of a sudden, somebody sits and says, this is our party boy. You can't put him behind bars. If that is your party boy should be responsible enough. We are talking about responsible citizenship in a democracy if we have a future. But if we continue to promote impunity, gradually all of us, it will come back to bite us.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Peter Tubu. Thank you. Let's move on to see if we can get to talk to Mr. Kofi Ahen of Kodeo. Let's just see whether they've been monitoring and if we can be able to. All right, so we're trying to get him back on online so that we can get to talk to him. At least we want to find out whether the country is in a situation where it looks like it is volatile. But you remember that yesterday we spoke to Cynthia Morrison herself, and then she was mentioning that there was no attempt on her life. This is not the first time we've heard that some people are using guns during campaigns, as you have heard Mr. Peter Tubu saying. And on your screens are some of the footages that we showed you yesterday as well. Now let's go on the phone and see if we can talk to Mr. Kofi Ahen. Good afternoon, Mr. Kofi Ahen. Thank you for joining us. From your pre-election monitoring, what have you observed about the use of firearms during campaigns? If you can hear me, I'd like to find out what is your initial reaction, especially about the use of firearms during campaigns. Hello, Mr. Ahen.
Please.
Okay, thank you for joining again. Now, so we want to know that from your pre-election monitoring, what have you observed about the use of firearms during campaigns?
Well, so far, I don't think we have had any report about the use of firearms. We have 100 people who are spread throughout the country. But it hasn't come to our notice about the use of firearms. So, at this point, in our observation.
Okay, this incident happened just yesterday, but out of that, we want to find out that is Ghana's election atmosphere currently volatile?
Can Ghana's atmosphere be what?
Do you think that the current situation or the atmosphere in Ghana is volatile?
Well, I wouldn't say yes, I wouldn't say no, but we need to step cautiously. We need to be careful. With what is happening in Boko and other places, we need to be very, very, very careful. You see, small arms may be used throughout the election cycle. It can be used during, before, or after, Then what normally happens is that some unscrupulous people resort to the use of small arms to intimidate prospective voters. And we need to be careful about it.
Okay.
They do this.
Thank you.
They do this. Hello?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Kofi Ahen. Thank you for talking to us. That's all for today on Election Brief with me, MFA Akua Donkor Passes On. There's more on myjoyonline.com.